morning, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Can you please state your name and spell it for the jury?
My name is James Kwong. James spells James. Kwong spells Kwong.
Were you previously employed with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes, I was.
And in what capacity?
I was a senior crime laboratory analyst assigned to the firearms section.
How long were you working with FDLE?
Approximately 19 years.
And when did you stop working with FDLE?
December 2024.
So recently.
Yes.
Were you working or still employed there in the firearms section in August of 2021?
Yes, I was.
And between then and the date of your retirement, had you worked up cases related to firearms
Yes.
and ballistics analysis?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what your educational background is?
I have a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering and technology from Tampa University. Temple spells Temple. Temple University in the city of Philadelphia. I received my Bachelor of Science degree in 1985.
When you worked with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement with firearms, did you work in any other capacity? So DNA or in any other areas other than with firearms or ballistics?
No.
And what training or experience do you have in the area specifically related to firearms?
Before I was working for FDLE, I was previously employed with the police department in the city of Philadelphia. I started as a police officer on street patrol duties. After 5 years of patrolling the street, I was transferred to the Forensic Science Center, and I was assigned to the Firearms Identification Unit, FIU, where I received 3 years of on-the-job training under a very famous firearms examiner, Police Officer John Farner. Farner spells Finor. I received 3 years of training in regard to the forensic disciplines of firearms identification. Once I completed my training, I worked as a firearms examiner in the city of Philadelphia for approximately 6 years. Then I took an early retirement, came down to Florida, and worked for FDLE. I have a total of 25 years of experience in the area of forensic firearms identification.
Can you talk to us a bit about the Florida Department of Law Enforcement specifically? Is that laboratory an accredited lab?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
All the forensic laboratories under the FDLEs are accredited. The accredited agency is called ANAB, spells ANAB, which stands for American National Standards Institute and National Accreditation Board. It is an organization that sets standards and guidelines for the industries. It also provides accreditation and training to the laboratories in this country as well as internationally.
And when you worked specifically with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, if I just isolate my question to those 2 decades or so, did you devote all of your time to firearms work? What did your work week look like? What were you doing and how much of that time was devoted just to firearms?
Before I answer that, let me finish my previous answer.
Objection, non-responsive.
Overruled. I'll allow him to explain.
Regarding the accreditation for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if a laboratory is accredited, that means quality assurance. That the examiners and analysts are competent and credible, and their methodologies they use in examinations.
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Kwong is expressing opinion testimony.
Overruled.
That the methodology used in examinations meets and conforms to the high standards within the industries. That means the products are reliable and credible. As to the questions about how much time I spend on doing firearms work, approximately 95%. The other 5% go to court to testify on cases, as well as provide training to new trainees in the section.
So if I understood you properly, the accreditation ensures, or there is an insurance in place to make sure that FDLE is sticking by the standards in the scientific community?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you work only with firearms. Have you testified? I think you indicated a percentage of your work was for testimony, but that would mean you've testified previously as an expert?
Yes.
Do you know approximately how many times you've testified as an expert?
In my 25 years of career in this field, I have testified as an expert in the firearms identification approximately 233 times.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would tender the witness.
Any questions from any of the attorneys?
No questions, Your Honor.
No questions. No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may continue.
What are some of the day-to-day duties that you had as an analyst with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Can we repeat that again?
What are some of the day-to-day duties that you had as an analyst with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
As a senior crime laboratory analyst, I am responsible for the examinations of firearms, ammunitions, fire components of the ammunitions, such as projectiles, spent casings, identification of the firearms, function check, safety check, and test fire the firearms. Conduct microscopic comparisons of bullets to bullets, cartridge cases to cartridge cases, to determine whether they were fired in or fired from the same gun or not. Serial number restoration, distance determination based on gunshot residue patterns, and many other related duties.
Did you indicate that the job duties included the analysis of shell casings for identification purposes?
Yes,
Would that be to identify the caliber of the ammunition and something in addition to that?
yes,
And are you able, when you look at a shell casing, to identify that shell casing to other casings fired if they're from the same weapon?
yes.
Can you tell the jury, I guess briefly, what is a shell casing?
A shell casing, or we call a cartridge case, is one of the four major components of a cartridge. Besides the cartridge case, the other components are the primer, the gunpowder inside the cartridge case, and the last component is the bullet or the projectile that is seated inside the cartridge case mouth. So the cartridge case is just one of the four major components.
Say you are in a controlled environment like your lab, for example. What happens if you are test firing a weapon with the projectile after it's fired, and what happens with the cartridge case?
Well, it depends on the type of action, the type of guns that was fired. If this is a semi-automatic pistol, the pistol is automatically eject. It is fire cartridge cases eject from the gun.
And if it's a revolver, for example, the other option?
A revolver do not eject the cartridge case out of the revolver after you fire that, because the cartridge or the ammunition is loaded in the chamber of a cylinder. After you fire that cartridge case stays in the chamber of the cylinder. So when you see cartridge cases recovered from a crime scene, that is an indicative to a semi-automatic type of firearms and not a revolver.
And speaking specifically about semi-automatic firearms at this point, talk to me about what happens with the cartridge case from that, if any specificity can be given when it's fired.
A semi-automatic pistols utilize a device called a magazine. You load the ammunition into the magazine, then you insert inside the magazine housing of the pistol. You pull the slide to the rear, let go of the slide, and the slide will travel forward under spring pressure. As the slide travels forward, it strips a cartridge from the top of the magazine and insert that into the chamber. If the safety is off, all you have to do is pull the trigger. Bang! Once it fires, the cartridge case automatically ejects out of the pistol. About 90% of the semi-automatic pistols eject to the right and slightly to the rear.
When you are talking about the percentage of where they eject to, is that in a controlled environment where the cartridge case would eject?
Yes, in a controlled environments, yes, it is pretty predictable where they are going to be landed.
And predictable to what degree? Is there like, would you say within 5 feet, 10 feet? Are you able to say typically in a controlled environment if you fire a semi-automatic where that casing would land?
Based on all my experience within the last 25 years shooting guns, inside a shooting range, in general, for handguns, the cartridge case will land between 0 to 15 feet. For a long guns, such as a rifle, it will go further.
And are there factors that can be considered regarding where the cartridge casing will be located when the firearm is discharged?
Yes, it depends on the ground. For example, if the cartridge case is landed on grass, it's pretty much stay where it is. If it's landed on the street or on the concrete or the sidewalks, it will bounce a few times and then it roll a little bit and then come to a stop. If the ground is not level on an incline or on a slope, the cartridge case can roll down until it comes to a stop.
Are there also considerations such as outside factors? So if, for example, a firearm is shot from a moving vehicle?
Yes, of course. If you fire a gun from a car, a moving car, then the cartridge case is going to spread out a lot more because the car is traveling. It also depends on the person that is shooting the gun. The person could be holding the gun in a normal fashion with the gun sights on the top. But then if you see a lot of Hollywood movies, people are holding the gun sideways. So that changes the directions of where the cartridge case is going to land.
I would like to ask you specifically about speed. Is that a factor that's taken into consideration in determining where they land? The speed, if it's in the vehicle with the example we just talked about.
Yes, absolutely. If the car is traveling, let's say 15 miles per hour, you fire one shot and the next shot you fire, well, it's going to be a little further down. So it's going to be spread wider.
And then third-party influences. So we already have talked a little bit about a roadway, for example. If there are other vehicles in the roadway, are cartridge cases an object that are able to be moved then by those vehicles or picked up then by those vehicles?
Yes. And if they are cartridge case on the street, they could be hit by cars. And also it could be people on the street could kick the cartridge cases. So yeah, those are some of the factors that influence where the locations of the cartridge cases are.
Now, specifically in your analysis of a cartridge case, can you tell us what it is that you look for when you're completing the analysis for comparing cartridge cases to each other?
Well, I'm looking for markings left on the cartridge case during the firing of the gun. When the gun fires, it will leave its individual characteristics, or what we call ballistic signatures, on the cartridge cases. And the area that I look at on the cartridge case are marks that were left there from the breech face of the firearms. Breech face spells B-R-E-E-C-H, breech face. Also, I look at the markings from the extractor, the ejectors. They all leave markings on the cartridge case from the gun.
And what is it that you can say as far as the uniqueness of the markings on the cartridge case?
They are very unique because every gun has its unique ballistic signature.
And that's left behind by what? How does that happen? How do the markings on the casings happen?
Well, when you fire a gun, the gunpowder undergo a chemical change. It changes from a solid, a powder, into a rapidly expanding gas. For a 9mm, the pressure in that chamber is about 35,000 psi, pounds per square inches. The tire that is on a car is only 35 psi. So you're talking about 35,000 psi. That is a lot of pressure. So when you have two objects come in contact in extreme pressures, the harder objects will mark the softer object. The gun is made of steel. The bullet has a bullet jacket made of copper. It could be copper, brass, or aluminum, which is softer. So when you fire the gun will leave its ballistic signature on the cartridge case as well as on the bullet.
You spoke about the expanding gas when that pressure actually makes contact. Is that when the projectile leaves the gun?
Yes, that 35,000 psi that drive the bullet out of the cartridge case into the interior of the gun barrel, engage the rifling, and exit the gun barrel. For a 9mm, it has a maximum distance that it could travel. It's about a mile.
When that gas actually happens, when that contact happens and we see that gas and the projectile leaves the gun, is there something that happens visually when you see when the gun is fired?
Well, when you fire a gun, you will see muzzle flash. Muzzle flash is basically the high temperature, high pressure gas, the 35,000 psi, expelled out of the gun barrel as the bullet leaves the gun barrel. It's a light. As well as there's a muzzle blast. The blast is the sound. Boom. Okay, it's pretty much like lightning and thunder.
Is there a difference in the muzzle flash that you can see visually or the blast that you can hear from a 9mm to, say, a 5.56 or 2.23 rifle round?
Yes. Now, during daytime, you might not be able to see the muzzle flash, but you definitely could hear the muzzle blast. At nighttime, you're going to see the muzzle flash very well, as well as the muzzle blast. Now, for a 2.23 or 5.56 millimeter, the rifle, it's going to be a lot louder, a lot brighter than a 9mm.
And you say brighter, is that the muzzle flash is brighter?
Yeah, the muzzle flash.
And when you're using the term brighter, is that visually a bigger muzzle flash that we see than a 9?
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell me what tools you utilize in comparing your shell casings, please.
We use a scientific instrument that called a comparison microscope. Basically, it's two microscopes combined into one. That has two stages. Each stage holds a specimen, a bullet or cartridge case. So we have two specimens, two bullets or two cartridge case. We compare them side by side under various magnification. 20 times, 50 times, 100 times is actual size. So we are looking at the marks at the microscopic level. These marks are invisible to our naked eye, but under the microscope, under the magnifications, you can see them very well. And we compare those markings.
And what do those markings actually look like when you have the images side by side?
Well, the markings that we see are, it could be parallel lines, could be diagonal lines, could be wispy lines, it could be dots, big dots, small dots, shapes, geometric shapes, irregular shapes. So we look at all those little tiny, tiny microscopic features, and we compare the pattern of one to the pattern of the other.
And for purposes of making an identification, do those tiny microscopic features need to be consistent from sample 1 to sample 2?
Yes. If all these microscopic features correspond to each other, that means the patterns of one to the pattern of the seconds has a common source, a common origin, and the common origins is the same gun that put their ballistic signatures on both patterns.
What is the range of conclusions that you can make as an analyst when you are analyzing ballistics?
Basically, we have four conclusions after microscopic comparisons. Identification, that means it is a match. Elimination, it is not a match. Inconclusive, I cannot tell you one way or the other. And the final conclusion is no value for microscopic comparisons.
Are the most definite findings from the options that you've just provided us identified or eliminated?
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. Are the most definite of the options you gave us inconclusive, no value, identified, eliminated? Identified as a match, eliminated as not match. Is that
Yes.
right?
That is the most definitive conclusion that we could get. It is either fire from the gun or not fire from the gun.
When we're talking about the components or parts of a bullet, what is a fragment?
Well, a fragment is a piece that was broken off from a hole or from a bullet.
Do you have a better probability in making your comparison for identification or elimination if you have the full projectile?
Absolutely. If you have a full impact projectile, you have more areas to work with. If you have a tiny little bullet fragments, there's not much you can work with, based on the amount of markings on the fragment.
Now, I just lastly want to talk to you about maybe something that may not be knowledge to everyone if we can. We have referenced 5.56 or 2.23. What is the relationship between those two things?
5.56 millimeters is expressed in the metric systems of measurement. The .223 is expressed in the English measuring system, which is expressed in inches. They are the same. 5.56 millimeter is equivalent to the .223 inch. It is your preference. Some people call it 5.56, some people call it 223. They are the same.
One measurement is just in millimeters and the other in inches.
Yeah, it's just a different measuring systems.
So if we see, for example, ammunition or packaging that says 5.56 and 2.23 on the box, they're referring to the same bullet.
Yeah, they are essentially the same ammunitions. It's just what the manufacturer calls it.
And that's the measurement of the diameter of the bullet.
Yes, the 5.56 millimeter or the .223 inch express the diameter of the bullet as well as the interior diameter of the gun barrel.
Did you, in this case, have an opportunity to analyze ballistics evidence by way of firearms and cartridge casings and projectiles?
Yes.
I am showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 44. If you would take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that sign.
Yes, I recognize it.
And does this summary include the groupings by which you have concluded the linkage of all the ballistics in this particular case?
Yes.
Fairly and accurately.
Yes, accurately.
And, Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to admit States 44, the ballistics evidence summary exhibit.
Any objections?
Okay.
All right, 44 will be admitted.
No objection from anyone?
No objection.
Sir, do you recall the total number of cartridge cases you were asked to analyze in this case?
A total of 40 fire cartridge cases.
I'm going to try my best to put this on the screen for you if it will work for us today. I'm hoping circle means working. A total of 40?
Yes.
And were you asked to make a comparison as to the relationship between the cartridge cases that you received for analysis?
Yes.
In the analysis that you completed, do you look at each cartridge case to determine the condition of the cartridge case?
Yes.
And looking at the key over the screen to your left, there is no group 5, as it relates to the cartridge cases here. What was the difference with the cartridge case that was your number group 5 that was determined?
Group 5 only contains one cartridge case.
And what was the condition of that cartridge case?
That cartridge case was damaged and it was crushed, flattened.
Now, if we're looking at just what we have on the screen here, this key, what are these groups referring to?
Can Can you repeat that again?
Yes. What does group 1 mean? Is that all of the cartridge casings analyzed in one group?
That's correct, yes.
And would that be all of the cartridge cases that ultimately you concluded were fired from the same gun?
Yeah,
Is that the case for all of the groups listed here on the screen?
yes.
And for groups 1 through 4 and 6, was there more than one item of ballistics evidence?
Yes.
I'm showing you now what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 5. Do you recognize this item and these? If you could keep them clipped, it might help us to go a little bit faster if we can. Do you recognize this envelope?
Yes, I recognize the envelope by the unit FDLU case number, the item number, and my initials or my handwritings on the outside of this packaging. Also, on every little small packaging, as well as on every single cartridge case, they all contain the FDLU case number, the item number, and my initial of my handwritings.
And so each envelope and then actually each casing that was collected itself, you're able to write on.
Yes,
And is this package, at least in State's Exhibit number 5, indicative of the 25 9mm casings that you analyzed in this case?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time, State seeks to introduce State's Exhibit 5 if not previously admitted.
Any objections?
No objection.
No objection.
Hearing no objections, it will be admitted.
And then ultimately, did you also have an opportunity to analyze 15556 casings, or 223?
Yes. Again, I recognize the FDLU case number, the item number, and my initial of my handwriting on the packaging, as well as on every small envelope inside this packaging, as well as on every cartridge case that is in this packaging.
And is that standard procedure for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to annotate in that way on each of the items and package them individually like this when appropriate?
Yes, that is per the FDLE standard operating procedures.
Now I'm going to show you first Group 5. So when we talk about Group 5, I am referring to what's been previously admitted from State's evidence marker number 51. Group 5 is the group that is not reflected on the casing key here. Do you recall what ammunition caliber Group 5 was?
May I refer to my case notes?
Would it help you to recall?
Yes.
I apologize. Did you renumber the items once they came in from what the law enforcement officers would have made exhibit markers at the scene? Meaning you don't use the same numbers that we use for exhibit markers, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So this would have been your renumbered FDLE 1X, if that helps.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be or correspond to the evidence marker number 51.
Correct, sir.
I'm sorry, Judge, 30.
51. And you had an opportunity to analyze this this casing from evidence marker number 51. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what, if any, determination were you able to make about the casing that was collected at that location?
As you can see, it is quite damaged. It's crushed, and it's very damaged. And the manufacturer of this cartridge case is by Hornady, spells Hornady, and it is a 9mm Luger caliber ammunition. This manufacturer, Hornady, is different from the other 24 9mm casings.
This manufacturer of Hornady was different than the other casings located.
Yes.
And based on the condition of this particular casing, Was this casing's condition different than the other casings than you analyzed as well?
Yes, very, very different. Has a lot damage. The other casings are pretty good conditions.
Now, as it relates back to what we were viewing as the grouping subsequent to group number 5, so if you need me to reference 5 again, I will, but that is the end of group 5. Group 5 was fired also from a different firearm than any of the other ballistics you analyzed?
That's correct. That was fired from different from the other groups, the other 5 groups.
Now, in your analysis, if we talk specifically about group number 1, please. Are you able to locate your notes for group number 1? Your A, starting at your 1A.
Yes.
Wonderful. In utilizing the key that we see on the screen before you here, are you able to identify the color associated with group number 1, please?
Yes.
And, I apologize, go ahead.
Yeah, group 1 is indicated as red color.
And in your review of the summary, were you able to identify which numbers of casings were associated to group number 1?
Yes.
And were the items identified to group number 1 associated to evidence markers as well?
Yes.
And are you referring to your renumbered chart, which is the numbers that you assigned to each of the cartridge cases renumbered for what the evidence markers reflected?
Yes.
Are the numbers reflected in red on the screen before you each of the evidence markers for which the firearm for group number 1 discharged these casings?
Yes. All the cartridge case in group number 1 were fired in the same gun.
And how is it that you are able to correlate each of the casings to each other? Were they identified to each other?
Yes, they were identified to each other using a comparison microscope. That their individual characteristics correspond to each other. They have the same pattern, same ballistic signature.
You would not have been present on the scene to actually see the location of where each of these casings landed, isn't that correct?
That's correct, yeah. All my work is done inside a laboratory.
Can you explain for us how the casings that were 1 through 12, and I'm going to show you from evidence marker 6 if you want to reference your notes there, how were the casings collected from 1 through 12 different in condition from the casing collected at evidence marker 51 that we just saw?
They are in very nice conditions.
When you say nice, what is the texture of a fired casing if nothing else has impacted it and there's been no damage to it? What's the texture? Is it smooth or is it textured?
It should be smooth, unless it was ran over by a car or something.
And when you view typically, bear with me, the head stamp on your ammunition or cartridge case, are you able to legibly see any information on the head stamp of a round, whether fired or live?
Yes, you could tell the manufacturer as well as the caliber of the ammunition. In this case, the manufacturer is Norma, spelled N-O-R-M-A, and the caliber is 9mm Luger.
Were you able to make a comparison to all of the items that we have just put up for you as it relates to group number 1?
Yes,
And your conclusion as to group number 1 depicted in the red markers related to the evidence marker numbers from the scene
yes,
was what?
they were all fired in the same gun.
Did you repeat that same process with the rest of the ballistics?
Yes, with respect to the other groups.
Now, I want to be clear, when you receive the ballistics, do you know what groupings are actually going to go into?
No, I cannot do that until I conduct microscopic comparison to group them based on the individual characteristic, based on their ballistic signatures.
I will have you look now to group number 2, please. Should start with your FDLE marker 1H.
Yes, these cartridge cases are under group number 2.
And what was your conclusion as to the ballistics from group number 2 at markers 10, 11, 29, 41, and 46?
They were all fired in the same gun, but different from the group number 1.
Group number 2 would be the next firearm.
Yes, another firearm.
And again, the same thing on these casings where we see the condition is smooth. Is that correct throughout your analysis of all the casings? I won't keep switching back and forth for you, but essentially you were able to identify the head stamp and the condition of the casing was smooth again.
Smooth and no damage.
Now, the damage, when we're talking about it, are you talking about that pebbling damage? Because this one, it appears to be damaged at least to a layperson or a regular person seeing it. Why is this damage different?
Okay, this one is damaged. It could be someone step on it. It could be that when it was eject out of the gun, it come in contact with the ejector port of the slide that caused the damage.
But this was different in nature than what we saw from evidence marker 51 or group 5.
Yes.
And what is your conclusion as to all of the ballistics evidence as it relates to group number 2?
They were fired in the same gun and different from the other groups.
I will move you now to group number 3, blue in color. What can you tell me as it relates to group number 3, starting with your number 1K and our evidence marker 13, please?
All these cartridge case under group number 3, they were all fired in the same gun and different gun to the other groups.
Now, for this particular set of casings, were you ultimately from law enforcement provided a weapon to analyze?
Yes.
And how does that differ from what we've seen thus far?
Once we have a firearms for examination, we will compare all the cartridge cases to that particular gun to determine whether that gun fire any of the cartridge cases or not.
In this particular case, were you provided with a Taurus 9mm pistol to analyze for comparison purposes?
Yes, I did.
Prior to that, had you already completed an analysis of casings 13, 14, 15, 16, 27, 45, 49, and 50 to each other?
Yes.
Were these casings identified to each other?
Yes, they were.
I'm showing you now what has been marked as states 29A through I, if you would take a look at those photographs.
Yes, I recognize this this firearm based on the serial number.
May I have those? Thank you. And when you received this firearm for testing some months after the comparison of the casings to each other, do you operate your own testing?
Yes, it is one of our procedure that once we receive a firearms, we have to identify the firearm by the manufacturer, the caliber, the model, the serial number. We have to conduct a function check, safety check to make sure all the safety is working properly. And then we have to test fire the firearms to determine whether it's functional or not. And the test fire that we took, the test fire bullets and the test fire cartridge case, and then they will, we will use them to compare against the evidence bullets and evidence casings.
Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to admit states 29A through I.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right, hearing no objections, it'll be admitted.
I am publishing for you states 29E. Do you recognize the firearm depicted in states 29E or 29B? I believe you indicated by serial number.
Yes.
Is this the firearm that you tested in the months after the comparison was made to the original casings?
Yes.
And what was your conclusion as to whether this firearm discharged the rounds or left behind the casings from group number 3?
Yes, the cartridge cases in group number 3 was positively identified to this pistol. Match. It's a match. That
Now-
means that this pistol fired all the cartridge case in group 3.
And were all of the cartridge cases that were tested for group 3 eliminated from any of the other groups? No other gun could have fired group 3, and those in group 3 were exclusive to what you were provided from this scene.
Yes.
Were you also provided a projectile for analysis related to the test fire of this firearm?
Yes.
And did you make a comparison to that projectile as it relates to the projectile recovered from the vehicle of the victims in this case?
Yes.
What was your conclusion as it relates to the projectile that was provided to you from the vehicle to this particular firearm?
That projectile was identified as having been fired from that Taurus pistol you just saw on the screen.
Now, when we look back at group number 3, you had an opportunity then for this blue group to identify a firearm to the casings left behind.
Yes. All the cartridge case from group 3, as well as that projectile recovered from the car, they match the gun, that Taurus pistol.
Whereas before, what we've looked at are the casings that match each other. You have not been provided a firearm to confirm to the casings in groups 1 or 2. Only can match the casings to each other.
Yes, without a gun, I can only match the casing to each other. But with the gun, I could compare all the casings to the gun.
Is there any difference in the comparison as it relates to the casings being identified to each other versus the casings being identified to the firearm? Does it change anything about your identification of the casings to each other?
Well, essentially, the comparisons is the same methodology. You have 2 samples, evidence to evidence or evidence to a test. It's the same process. I'm looking for the ballistic signatures on the casings. If the patterns of individual characteristics correspond to each other in agreements, their ballistic signatures are the same gun.
And looking now to the casings from group number 4, how many casings were identified from group number 4 to each other?
There were 2 casings in group number 4.
Is that at evidence markers 43 and 44 as depicted on this diagram?
Yes.
And did you subsequently, in this instance, also have a firearm by which you were able to make a comparison directly at a time later than your original identification of the casings to each other?
Yes.
And so what's been identified in green there are the 2 that you have confirmed were identified to each other at evidence markers 43 and 44.
Yes. 43.
Oh, I apologize.
43 and 44 were fired from the same gun.
Sometime thereafter, this initial identification, were you provided by law enforcement with a firearm that has been previously admitted as exhibit number 31A and B, so a firearm and a magazine from law enforcement for identification?
Yes.
And this firearm here was previously admitted as having been identified to one of the defendants. Do you have any information about who the weapon belongs to or anything like that?
No, I do not.
Did your conclusion include any kind of identification? Yes, it's identified to Mr. Denson's gun.
No. I don't know whose gun it is. All I do is compare the evidence cartridge cases to the test fire cartridge case of this gun.
And when you received this gun for analysis, please tell me how many live rounds of ammunition were also provided with this firearm.
I received 14 unfired 9mm Luger caliber cartridges.
Are you familiar with a Taurus 9mm Luger pistol and the stock magazine that it is equipped with?
Yes.
How many rounds does a stock magazine on this weapon hold?
The magazine that's submitted with these pistols has a capacity of 16 cartridges.
16 total cartridges?
Yes.
Is that to include the magazine and a round in the chamber?
No, that would be 16 plus 1.
If you load this magazine fully and insert it into the firearm, as you did with your test firing, how many discharges does it take to leave 14 rounds in the magazine?
Well, if it's fully loaded, 16 plus 1, subtract 14, 3.
If there's nothing in the chamber and you have taken the firearm from the box and a fully loaded magazine and entered it into the firearm, how many discharges to be left with 14 in the round?
2. Oh, can you repeat that?
Yes, so the firearm when you receive it is not loaded.
That's correct. It has to be offloaded for safety purposes.
And a full magazine holds,
The whole full magazine holds 16,
so in discharging that weapon twice,
then we'll leave 14.
did you, in your comparison to identify or confirm that this firearm fired the rounds left at these evidence markers, also impound the test fires from that weapon?
Yes, I recognize the packaging by the FDLE case number, item number, and my initial, my handwritings on the packagings, as well as on each one of my test fire bullets and test fire cartridge cases.
Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to admit states 32.
No objection.
Hearing no objections, that will be admitted.
Sir, are test fires actually shot in a controlled environment?
Yes, this test fire was shot in our shooting range, which is an indoor facility that contains a big water tank. I use laboratory ammunitions, and I use them to test fire the gun.
In this particular case, you used these test fires, and what did you shoot into?
I shoot the bullet into a water tank.
I will show you first the casings that you identified as the test fires that you shot from this weapon. Is the ammunition that you use for your test fires that which was provided with the firearm, or do you use a standard ammunition that's with the agency?
With our laboratory, with our agencies.
And do you also shoot a variety or different types of ammunition, at least brands or maybe materials, so that you're able to see different markers to make sure that the ballistics comparisons are accurate?
Yes.
Is that why we see essentially different colors of ammunition here?
Yes.
Now, I want to show you specifically the projectiles from those test fires, please. Your item 6.1. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
In the controlled environment, you had test fires which appeared in this manner. What is that test fire? What's happened to that projectile?
This bullet design is called jacket hollow point. The jacket hollow point, essentially, the nose area is hollow. The purpose of that is for expansion. So when the bullet hit an object, a body, the nose area of the projectile will expand, which cause a bigger hole to the body.
Now, in showing you the second projectile here, that looks a little bit different when you're talking about expansion. Why is this second item different?
It's different manufacturer. Both of them called jacket hollow point. Both are designed for expansions. One manufacturer designed it so that it expands more than the other.
And for example, as we talked about fragments earlier, are these pieces, had they not remained attached to this projectile, did these pieces of metal file off the firearm when it's fired? Or the projectile when it strikes something?
Yes, there's a potential for small pieces of bullet jacket or even the bullet core to fragmentate it.
So in addition to the projectiles, we see a collection of, for example, fragments. But if you're asked to compare just this little portion here that I'm pointing to on the right of this one, does that make things more difficult in your comparison?
Yes, it is very difficult because you have a very limited area to work with.
Lastly, from your test fires, can you explain to us why this projectile that I'm showing you differs in any way from the earlier two?
The design of this bullet is called full metal jacket. As you can see, the nose area is solid. The purpose of this design is for penetrations. The full metal jacket will penetrate through and through your body, whereas the jacket hollow point there's a high chance that the bullet will stay in the body.
You ultimately did use the test fires that I've just presented to you to make a conclusion as it relates to the firearm that's previously been identified as belonging to James Denson.
Yes.
And what was that conclusion?
Are you referring to the cartridge cases?
To the cartridge cases and that were located on scene from 43 and 44, and obviously your test fires from that weapon, comparing them to each other.
Yes. The cartridge case, evidence marker 43, 44, they were identified to the Taurus pistol that we just saw.
This one in the box, not the photos?
Yes, the one in the box.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, did you have an opportunity, we've talked about group number 5, so this is green group number 4, yes?
Yes,
We've talked about group number 5, which is another casing, you don't know where it is, but it's evidence marker 51.
yes.
Great. Now let's talk about group number 6. What in any way was different about group number 6 during your comparison from what we've just seen as groups 1 through 5, please?
The cartridge case of group number 6 has a different caliber than the other 5 groups. The caliber of this group is 5.56 by 45 millimeters. The other 5 groups are 9 millimeter caliber. All these cartridge cases were identified as having been fired in the same gun or same firearm.
So the same firearm produced all of these cartridge cases.
Yes,
What type of firearm discharges 5.56 or the different measurement 2.23, which it should be .223, shouldn't it, up there
Yeah.
on that chart?
yeah, it should be .223.
Okay. With that correction, though, what type of firearm discharges this type of ammunition?
This type of ammunition, the 5.56 millimeter, was designed for rifle, a long gun, a rifle.
A rifle?
Yes.
And is the rifle the type of gun that you indicated would give us a bigger muzzle flash than a 9mm weapon?
Yes,
Why is the rifle muzzle flash so much bigger or brighter?
because the 5.56 millimeter is much more powerful than the 9 millimeters. That means there are more gunpowder that give you that higher velocity and the bigger bang.
You had an opportunity then to analyze the casings that were identified to each other from this rifle round, I presume?
Yes,
And I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 4, if I can, on the screen. Can you see that okay?
yes,
So I'm showing you marker 20 from that exhibit, same small envelope that you are applying to all of the others.
yes.
And tell me how this round is different than the other shell casings that we've been seeing today.
As you can see, it is longer. For rifle ammunitions, the cartridge case is longer.
What does it mean to be longer? Is there something different about the ammunition itself?
Well, it's longer, that means you could put more gunpowder in it.
And does that result in the brighter flash?
Yes,
And so you did that with each of the casings from that same number, is that right?
yes,
Or that same group number?
yes,
And all of these, again, have your identifying marks on all of the rifle casings that were fired.
yes. They all contain the FDA case number, the item number, and my initial or my handwriting.
I'm going to switch you back to your grouping chart here, if you can, please, over your shoulder. Are all of the rounds that are depicted at the bottom listed by evidence marker number 17 through 23, 25 through 28, 30, 35, 38, 42, and 48 identified to each other as being fired from the same round? From the same firearm.
Yes, from the same firearm.
And were you provided, or did you ever receive any kind of firearm for confirmation like we had in States 31 with the Taurus firearm I showed you in this box?
No,
But your conclusion was, without having even the rifle to identify, that you could identify at least the casings to each other?
yes, they were all fired in the same firearm.
And as it's depicted on the chart before you, had they all been documented by color in the chart?
Yes,
And is that the orange rounds, the rifle rounds that were fired, at least identified by evidence marker here?
yes,
Ultimately, did you have an opportunity to view in its entirety a composition of the ballistics evidence in this case on the scene diagram as it's depicted in the summary exhibit you're looking at? So all of the colors on one chart.
Yes.
Now, when we look a little bit closer at the 5.56 rounds, or 223 rounds, correction again, right? It should say .223, not 2.23 for the measurement of the diameter of the ballistic.
Yes.
Now, looking at that grouping, do you recognize this closer chart?
Yes.
Was this also respective of the casings located that were related back to group number 6, the rifle?
Yes.
So 25, 26, 28, et cetera.
Yes.
Okay. When we look to the coloring for the rifle rounds of orange, is there any difference in any of those casings that you analyzed that would indicate to you that there could be another rifle that was fired?
No.
And in 42 and 48, as depicted here in orange, were those also identified as having been fired from the same rifle on one of our scene maps?
The same firearm, yes.
Now, lastly, did you draw a conclusion as to, or that was your conclusion, excuse me, as to all of the listed ballistics for where the, or which of these evidence marker numbers correlated to the rifle rounds?
Yes.
And is that as depicted here on these scene diagrams by color in orange?
Yes.
Now, I'll go back to my earlier question. I think I got a little ahead of myself. Ultimately, would you have an opportunity to see the diagram itself with each by casing key? I'd put it up here for your refreshment, where all of the ballistics were labeled in the scene diagram, at least those that you received for testing, with the exception of group number 5, item or evidence marker, excuse me, number 51.
Yes.
And looking at the scene diagram number 1 here over your shoulder, is this map here consistent with the colors as provided in our key from the scene for the ballistics at this location?
Yes, pretty accurate.
I know the maps themselves may not be to scale, but the colors coordinated with each of the item or evidence marker numbers are consistent with your findings.
Yes.
Map, finally, number 3, also consistent.
Yes.
And in totality, when I give you the key itself here in the bottom left, is this accurate as to the ballistics evidence left behind at the scene? Not as far as your correlation to the scene, but as far as your results with the groupings of each of these firearms.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have 1 moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Kwan. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Kwan, you were testifying on direct examination about muzzle flash. You recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
And I want to ask you again, just so I understand. Did you give a description of what a 9mm muzzle flash would look like at night? Because I was having a hard time understanding or a hard time hearing it.
All I said is that because the rifle ammunition's a lot more powerful than a 9mm, which is a handgun. So I would expect to see the muzzle flash from a rifle would be bigger than the muzzle flash of a 9mm.
And so you were only suggesting to us and describing the difference between one and another, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And your description would be that a 5.56 or a rifle discharge or a muzzle flash would be brighter. Is there anything else that you would think would distinguish the two?
Well, it's brighter and also bigger.
Okay, bigger meaning longer, meaning wider, as you visualize it, as you see it.
Larger and also longer.
Would it take a certain form as you see it visually?
Well, yeah, you can see it visually at nighttime.
Okay? And what would it look like?
It's a white light.
So, moving on to your testimony on State's Exhibit number 44, which is your charts. I'm going to show you one of the All right, we're good. The 9 casings that are displayed in this Group 1 are located within the first third or so of the total 879 feet that exist from the start at North 45th Street to the end where the vehicle came to rest, correct? You would agree with me?
Yes,
And that would constitute, if simple math tells you, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 feet. If it's approximately a third.
yeah, a third of it, yes.
And when you look at those casings, there's no way to determine whether those 9 casings, how far they could have been displaced, whether it be from the ejection process itself or from any contact with passing traffic, correct?
That's correct, yeah. And also, if the car is moving, yeah, it also taking that into factor.
Okay, so the movement of the vehicle, the ejection process itself from a semi-automatic weapon, as well as any traffic that it may come in contact with, correct?
Correct. If there are other cars on the road, they could have pushed the casing further.
Nothing further, thank you.
No questions?
Good morning, Mr. Kwan. Nice to see you again. So I want to talk to you about the fact that there's 2 Taurus 9mm firearms that you had the opportunity to analyze in this case, correct?
Yes.
All right. So the first one is, as described in States 29, where you had the pictures. Okay, remember looking at the pictures earlier?
Yes, on the photograph, yes.
Okay, and that's the one where you connected it to 8 casings and 1 projectile, right?
That's correct, yes.
And that was a projectile that was found within the vehicle.
That's correct.
All right, and then States 31A and B is actually what we have with us here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, the gun in the box.
Okay, so it's 2 different firearms that we're discussing, but they're both Tauruses.
Yes, they are from the same manufacturer, Taurus, as well as same caliber, as well as same model.
And these are the casings that we're talking about at evidence marker 43 and 44 towards the west side of the crime scene, correct?
Yes,
So when you test fired, remember when you were showing us your test fires earlier from State's Exhibit number 32?
yes,
You used hollow points and you talked about fragments that happen as essentially the projectile is expelled, correct?
yes.
Would you agree with me that those fragments are not unique to that particular firearm?
Well, it depends. What do you mean by that?
When you have other hollow point bullets from other guns that you fire, okay, they are going to fragment in that same manner as the test fires from State's Exhibit 32. It's not unique that only this firearm is going to cause a hollow point bullet to fragment.
Yes,
So you agree with me?
yes, I
Oh,
agree with you, yes.
Okay. And earlier when you were discussing the capacity of the firearm, okay, State's Exhibit 31A and B, talked about the difference between when something is fully loaded versus just having the magazine capacity. Could you explain that to us, please?
Well, the full capacity is fully loaded magazine plus 1 in the chamber. So when it is fully loaded, that means whatever the capacity of the magazine plus the 1 in the chamber.
So what an individual would have to do is They would have to insert the magazine into the firearm. They would have to rack the slide, causing a bullet to go into the firearm. Then they would have to eject the magazine, put another bullet in, and then insert the magazine again for it to be fully loaded, correct?
That's correct. You described it better than I could.
I don't know about that, sir. But what I would ask you, though, based on your expert opinion and based on your training and experience in this area, should this jury take anything away based on the evidence that you've had to review about whether or not the magazine, whether or not the firearm in State's Exhibit 31 was fully loaded or anything like that?
I don't know.
Can you say anything about who is in possession of 31 as far as their actions on that night, whether they had the gun fully loaded, whether they had to chamber a bullet or anything like that?
I do not know that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Good morning, Mr. Kwong.
Good morning, sir.
You've identified shell casings in group number 6 as belonging to a 5.56 or a 2.23, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Were you able to identify those shell casings to a particular brand of weapon?
No, I cannot.
And were you able to do the same with the 9 millimeters? Were you able to identify the shell casings on the 9 millimeter to a particular brand of weapon?
No, unless I have the gun.
Okay. You have to have the actual firearm that discharged the casings in order to make a positive identification. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And obviously, Mr. Wong, you have no idea who discharged the firearms that produced the casings, correct?
That's correct. That's
thank you.
beyond my expertise.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I'm sorry. No,
Good morning, Mr. Kwong.
Good morning, ma'am.
So the examination that you do is strictly limited to ballistics, is that correct?
That is correct.
There are other areas of FDLE when you were employed there that would do potentially other latent examination like DNA or fingerprints, things like that.
Yes, we have other forensic sections.
But you would not do that.
No, I was not trained, and I'm not allowed to, and I won't.
The guide that we have in States 44, the different groups, they're color-coded. And the colors in A and B appear to be a little bit similar on the page, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you did the examination, you were talking about Group 5 that's not included in this exhibit by the state, but Ms. Ismer showed you the casing itself and the damage that was on it.
Yes.
Okay. But that damage didn't prevent you from doing your examination to determine that it was fired from a different firearm.
No, it did not, because that casing, Stewart, contained the ballistic signature from the gun that fired it.
So although it may have presented differently, you were able to do the same type of examination that you were on the other casings that we saw.
Yes.
Group 3, that firearm that the casings were grouped with, we see this in this page that's annotated in blue. Is that right?
Yes.
And this is the one that you said you had a firearm that's at the bottom of this that you tested to those casings after you had grouped them together.
Yes.
So the first thing you're doing is you're taking all these casings and you're making your evaluation of what type of casings they are, and then you connected them to each other, if you could.
Yes.
And then this one and the other group that we talked about, that Mr. Fischetti was asking you about, was the other one where there was a firearm connected to those particular casings.
Yeah, there was a gun on the photograph.
Were there firearms connected to any of the other casing groups?
No, they were not.
And this 9mm Luger with the serial number, the ABG 655-998, you don't know where that came from, is that right?
Yes, I do not know.
The law enforcement just submits firearms to you and you do your part of the examination.
Yes.
And as far as where these casings may have been located on this map, you're not ever going out to the scene itself.
No, I do not go to the crime scene.
And there are some of these casings in this diagram, like this group, for example, that has numbers that are earlier in the grouping, and then there's numbers that are highlighted that are later on in the grouping as far as the numbers go. Do you understand my question?
No, I do not.
Okay. There's evidence markers in this one where it's 13, 14, 15, 16, and then there's a 27, and then there's a 45, 49, or 50. So they're spread throughout the casings that we're seeing in this group.
Yes.
Okay. And this is the firearm in the group of casings connected to that firearm that you also were able to connect to a projectile that was located inside of the vehicle?
Yes.
And that, again, the projectile being located inside of the vehicle, that's what law enforcement indicates to you is where that was recovered.
Yes, there was information given to me by the agency.
If I could have one. In this colored map, where we have all of the casings and the key, I'm going to zoom in specifically to 10 and 11. Because in this map, the differences in the color are a little bit harder to see. Would you agree between that fuchsia color and the red?
Yes.
Okay, so 10 and 11 are part of Group 2, not part of Group 1, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So although the color in this longer map that has everything, those may look similar to the ones around it, the 10 and 11 are different from 12, 9, 52, 8, and these other ones.
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Anyone else? Redirect?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Kwong, are you able to confirm for me that the firearm depicted in the photographs that you observed with the serial number ending in 5998 was provided to you under a different or separate agency report number than the rest of the ballistics provided in this investigation?
Yes.
And is that as documented on your report dated November 24th of 2021?
Yes.
Had the rest of your ballistics examination of all of the cartridge casings from the scene been completed before that date?
Yes.
And this gun was subsequently submitted to you from the law enforcement agency under a different case number?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
He may.
Thank you. You're free to go, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a good time to take our morning break, so court will be recessed for about 10 minutes.
All rise for the jurors.
Jury's left, y'all may be seated. Thank you, sir. All right, court will be recessed for 10. I have a question for the state. Yes, sir. Just for my own edit. Were 2 live rounds found? Was only the car one on the street or just 1 live round?
One line.
Yeah. He's still under oath. Thank you. Welcome, Your Honor. Mr. Carey, whenever you are ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective. You're still under oath from yesterday. Detective, we called you back today. We have just now concluded testimony from a firearms examiner in this case. So I want to ask you some questions regarding part of that. Detective, at Tampa Police Department, do you all have a NIBIN unit or a unit that identifies when a gun is obtained that may be related to another case?
Yes, we do.
And kind of how does that work? If you can just sort of explain just sort of generally how it works for the
Well, we
jury.
have an in-house specialist, a couple of them, I think. Sarah Price is one of them. And what they do is, like, if a casing is found on scene, the images are uploaded into a database. If firearms are recovered, they will go take these firearms and test fire them, and then based off of the test fire casings, they upload them, and then they analyze it.
Okay, so it's sort of a way of making a presumptive match?
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the firearm was fired. You have to send it to FDLE to further confirm whether or not that is in fact a firearm that was used in a separate case.
Correct.
All right, Detective, did there come a time where you received notification that there was a NIBIN hit regarding a firearm that had been obtained in a completely separate matter?
Yes, it was.
When was that?
It was on November 10th, 2021.
Okay, so this was at least a month or so after these defendants had already been arrested.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And this firearm came in on a separate case, on a separate arrest.
Yes.
Who was the individual that was arrested in that particular case with that firearm?
It was Raheem Bryant.
Raheem Bryant. Okay, now when that firearm was obtained, what did you do when you received notification of the NIBIN connection? What did you do at that point?
I went with the case agent that was working the case in which that firearm was recovered in, and I went and I spoke with Mr. Raheem Bryant at where he was at.
Okay, so you spoke with the individual who was arrested in possession of the firearm.
Yes, I did.
And I'm showing you what's already been introduced as State's Exhibit 29D behind you. Does that appear to be the firearm you collected on that in November?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't collect it, but yes.
Or that you sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for analysis?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's right. I realized you didn't connect it. In speaking with Mr. Bryant, did you later go back, so you knew what Mr. Bryant looked like, Raheem Bryant?
Yes. I mean, I was just conversing with him, having an interview with him, and, I had looked at extensive video, obviously on this case, from the Chevron, from the pawn shop, and at no point in the videos did I witness Mr. Bryant in there.
Okay, so you did in fact go back through, after meeting Mr. Bryant, after seeing him, after knowing what he looks like, you went back through and reviewed everything, and there was no connection between Mr. Bryant and that scene on that day?
Correct, yes.
All right. And you also spoke with Mr. Bryant about how he obtained the firearm. Would that be accurate?
Correct, yes.
All right. Did you find any connection or any reason whatsoever to arrest Mr. Bryant for any connection to this case?
No, not at all.
Judge, I don't have any further questions of this witness.
Cross-examination? Anyone?
Morning, Detective.
Where, Mr. Gonzalez?
Did you seek to identify every single person that traveled in, out, and amongst the gas pumps at the Chevron from the late evening hours all the way until this incident was over?
You could see a lot of the video. I mean, I've watched a lot of it. You could clearly see kind of who's coming and going throughout the day. You can also see that clearly, like who's entering the first vehicle, who's entering the third vehicle, and I could tell you that that was not Raheem Bryant with 1,000%.
You haven't been able to identify individuals that get into the second vehicle, though, correct?
I believe I have a belief of who they are. I suspect of who they are. They appeared to be them, but none of those individuals appear to be or were Raheem Bryant.
What about the fourth individual in that
You talking about the driver?
second vehicle?
Are you talking about the driver?
Yes.
The driver, like I said earlier, I believed it was Maxwell Bedward, based off of the kind of the car that he was driving earlier. I couldn't say definitively, but it was. I believe it was him.
I don't have any further questions.
No question.
Nothing else to Mr. Denson.
Nothing from Mr. Thompson, no.
Good morning, Detective.
Ms. Bradley?
You said that you received this NIBIN notification on November 10th of 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when I became aware of it.
And the arrest of Mr. Bryant for possessing that firearm was on November 7th of 2021. Is that correct?
Correct.
So it took some time between them retrieving that firearm, doing a fire, putting it in the database for it to connect to this case.
Correct.
And you said that that's a presumptive match, the NIBIN correlation, but that can be confirmed by FDLE.
Correct.
And in this case, it was confirmed by Mr. Kwong at FDLE.
Yes,
Well,
I believe so. I mean, I took the firearm to FDLE for analysis. I don't know exactly who it was that analyzed it, but
Okay.
yes, it was correlated to the casings on scene matched that firearm.
But as the lead detective, you get those reports, right?
Yes.
And you got the FDLE report that confirmed what the NIBIN correlation presumed.
Correct.
As far as Mr. Bryant, can you tell us what he looks like?
He looks, I mean, I have a good looking photo of him. I mean, he's a black male. I mean, I don't know how descriptive you want me to be. I mean, I don't recall off the top of my head exactly what he looked like. I mean, I looked at him when we were there. I looked at all the videos. I don't have his photo in front of me, his booking photo, but it's very consistent with, the photo that he had when he was,
You remember how tall he was?
not off the top of my head.
Or how old he was at the time?
I believe he was like mid-20s.
Did you collect his phone or do any download of his phone?
No.
And when you were testifying earlier, you said that second car, it pulls up and then quickly, after some other people get inside of the car, drives off.
Correct.
So you don't know who might have been inside of that car already when it pulled into the jet.
You see the people that get in the car, but you don't see anybody exit the vehicle.
Right, so if someone was already in the car and then others got in, you wouldn't see those people because they don't exit the vehicle at that time.
I think it's a fair statement.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hearing nothing, no objections from the defense, you are free to go. Thank you.
Very much.
State, you may call your next witness.
The state calls Benjamin Moores.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Whenever you're ready, Counselor.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you state and spell your name for the jury?
It's Detective Benjamin Bors. Last name is spelled B-O-R-S.
Where are you currently employed?
I'm employed with the City of Tampa Police Department.
And what do you do for the City of Tampa Police Department?
I am assigned to the Internet Crimes Against Children and also the Digital Forensics Unit.
What's your title there?
I'm a detective.
And what is your duties day-to-day in the units that you work in?
We are part of the task force, like I mentioned, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children. So a portion of my job is to investigate crimes regarding the child exploitation that occurs online or any cyber tips that comes in. And then the second part of my job is to do digital forensics, primarily for either those investigations or for investigations with the police department for like cell phones, computers, vehicles, hard drives, video cameras, anything like that.
When you say you do digital forensics, can you tell us what that means? What does that look like?
The short answer to that is anything that can store digital media, such as a cell phone, a computer, an SD card, a hard drive. My job is to recover data from those devices.
And how do you go about doing that?
It's different in every scenario, but with cell phones specifically, we use software, and in this case specifically, we used Celebrite or Gray Key are the two softwares that we typically use.
When you said this case specifically, were you asked to either complete an extraction or review an extraction from several devices in this particular case?
Yes.
And tell me what it looks like to actually complete the extraction of a device.
For the devices that I did, we use a software called Gray Key. So what you do is you plug that device in, and if we don't have passcodes to the phones, depending on what I would refer to the state of the phone, and the state being that if you have a phone that is unlocked but has not been turned off, meaning that the passcode has been entered at least one time after the phone has been powered on, it is in an AFU state, which stands for an after first unlock. If a phone has been powered off and the phone has never been turned on, that's considered a BFU, which is before first unlock. So if you ever used a cell phone before and you turn the phone on, you will see like Face ID, or the passcode will say that you have to enter the passcode to enable Face ID after a phone restarts. So for us, it makes a difference on the data that comes off the phone depending on the state of the phone. So if we don't have a passcode, we plug it into the software, and in this case, we would get an AFU extraction, which is the after first unlock extraction.
Do you have some training or experience that you're utilizing in actually pulling these extractions or working with these electronic devices?
Yes.
And what is that?
I've attended multiple courses through NW3C, which is more of the basic courses on recovering data or interpreting data. And then I've also taken courses with Celebrite, which is one of the companies I just mentioned, and then Axiom as well, which is the parent company that actually owns Axiom Magnet, Axiom Gray Key. And then I have forensic training in Burlo, which does vehicle forensics for the infotainment systems. And then I went through IASIS, which is specific. It's like a 6-month training course over the recovery of data from computers or file systems, and it is a training that goes over the different file systems that exist.
A lot of the names that you mentioned, Cellbrite and Axiom, all of those, are those softwares that you utilize in actually obtaining the extraction from the phones themselves or devices themselves?
Both extracting them, and then also they sell the adjoining software to actually parse the extractions.
Now, you mentioned a Cellbrite. Is that the program, like what we would use, a Word document to type a letter? Is that the program that you use to review the contents that are extracted from the device?
So Celebrite's the name of the company, but Physical Analyzer, it does exactly that. It takes the physical file that's extracted from the device and then analyzes it. And then the easiest way to explain is it doesn't turn it into a Word document, it turns it into a program that allows you to interact with the devices on it. And then from that program, you can then generate reports to specific artifacts or specific files from the device.
And when you are talking Cellbrite, does that have anything to do with cell site? We've heard a little bit about cell phone location data and cell site information. Are those two things related in any way?
No, not in this case. I'm not sure if they sell a tool that does cell site analysis, but for me, I use it to interpret cell phone extraction data.
And that would be an extraction from the physical device that you actually received, at least in this particular case.
Or something that we receive from like a third-party company. So if we receive something from, we'll say, Apple, like a cloud return, you could also use that same software to parse out the returns from Apple.
Are you able to differentiate between the two? So when you see an extraction that's from a physical device versus a return from, for example, a search warrant to Apple?
Yes.
In this particular case, did you have the opportunity to analyze data from a device which has been previously identified as belonging to Mr. Hammond in agency tag ending 539?
Yes.
And along with the physical device extraction, which did you complete that extraction yourself?
I did.
Along with that extraction, did you have an opportunity to review the Cellbrite extraction report from the iCloud return?
Yes.
So do you work in your agency with other detectives who are also qualified to pull these extractions, or are you the only person?
There's multiple detectives or officers that do it.
And depending on whoever plugs the phone in, is that the person who does, quote, the extraction, essentially, of the data? Do you have access to the data, whether you have, plugged the device in and started the extraction or download process, or whether another person with your agency or detective in your same unit did it?
Yes, I have access to it.
And have you had an opportunity to review the contents from the iCloud return for Mr. Hammond's device as well?
I have.
I'm showing you now what's been marked as States 35. Could you take a look and let me know if you identify the items depicted therein?
Yes, the first photo is actually the photo that I take when I initially get the device, and you'll see that it has the Tampa Police Department evidence tag on it that identifies that specific evidence item.
Would you look through that exhibit, please, and but before you tell me what's included in there, just let me know if you identify the records in that packet.
Yes. Yes, these are all items from those Cellbrite reports.
And would that include the physical device extraction and your review of the iCloud extraction?
It does.
Thank you. At this time, Your Honor, the state would move to admit State's Exhibit 35.
No objection.
Same objection, Your Honor.
All right, same ruling. Any other? All right, hearing no other objections, it will be admitted to Stage 35.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
You spoke very briefly just now, showing you page 35, page 1, about the photo that you take. Tell me what happens once you actually receive a physical device to your unit.
So when I get the device, as you can see, this white tag, that is what is assigned to it by our evidence department. So the top number that ends in 539-1, that is the control number. So that's specific to that item in evidence. So that's what, from our unit, we focus more on that because we are getting the item from evidence and not from a person. So as it gets to us, that's the identifier that we use.
In States 35-2, do you also photograph the device itself?
We do.
You photograph it in the casing if there is one and without it?
We just, as we go through and take photos, we try not to manipulate the device if we don't have to. So we take photos all the way down. So what it looks like when we first get it, all the way down to if we have to remove SIM cards or SIM trays.
For our purposes, do you utilize that number you just told us about to confirm that the extraction reports are what you were looking at?
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked page 3 of that same exhibit. Do you recognize this page here?
Yes.
Can you please explain to the jury what we're looking at?
This is essentially what you could refer to as like a face sheet or device details for the extraction. So this would be everything you would see on the phone or about the phone, like serial numbers, potentially phone numbers, or device info like identifiers.
Does the extraction report or this face sheet include the phone number associated with the device that the extraction comes from?
Yes.
And where is that located, or where can we find that?
It's actually, where it says MSISDN, I don't recall exactly what that acronym stands for at this second. So lower, yeah, right, down, 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 right there. MSISDN. And then to the right, you'll see there's the 813-953-6476.
And are you able to also see user account names associated with the device, or account names that were recovered from the device when you pull this face sheet?
Yes, you can see that there's, Cellbrite has identified 18 account names.
Now, is this account users that are on any of your extractions, even in general, does the information that's included there, is it limited only to, a legal government name, or what information is able to be put in there?
Whatever user account that was entered by a user.
Okay, so whoever has the device, you mean, or has access to this device?
Correct. It would be any identifier, email, nickname, anything that they wanted to use for, could be social media or actually the device itself.
Okay, so if Mr. Terry has John Terry 1 at Yahoo for his email on his cell phone, I hope that's not a true email address, is that what would be reflected in username in the column here?
Correct. The Cellbrite goes through and pulls out usernames and then puts it in this way for us to view it. So Cellbrite has identified it as a username and then just puts it here for us to see.
Is it essentially the program categorizing each of these different areas from the device?
Yes, I don't choose the term user accounts. That's what Celebrite uses, and then puts these identified user account names into this category.
Is there additional information that you are able to also obtain from the username category that's provided by Cellbrite? Meaning, does it include all of the usernames which would have been registered as, quote, a username when it pulls it?
Yes, all the ones that it can identify.
Now, if we're looking there at page number 4, when you pull at least the original extraction, are you also able to narrow down the categories by which you hope to search?
Yes.
In your review of the content from the physical device from Mr. Hammond, can you please describe for me whether you were able to access web searches?
I was.
Or web history, and can you tell the jury what that is?
Yes, it's what, again, Celebrite takes the extraction and then parses out databases that it identifies as being searches that were done from the device.
In looking at page number 5 of this Celebrite packet from the Hammond device, were there searches related to, or were there Google searches provided?
Yes.
How is it that you know what the Google searches were or what the content was from that?
Celebrite, again, has pulled this information out of the device, and you can see the Celebrite on the far second from left column. As you can see here in the bottom, there's a number 4, just meaning that that's the 4th row, but the search is on the second column, says 4-year-old shot in Tampa video footage, and then Google search. You can see the application that they were using on the far right, where it says yes, but next to it is Safari. So he's using, or someone was using the Safari internet application or browser to do a Google search, and then that was the search, the 4-year-old shot in Tampa video that was conducted.
Now, if I can please go with you in just chronological order here, if I may. Why is it that in looking at number 1, for example, in the column, the title is empty?
I don't have an answer for that, other than Celebrite is pulling this information out, so it might be kind of like an Excel spreadsheet or a table. Maybe that portion of that table just no longer had information in there, but it still had the URL in that table. It either was deleted and hasn't been written over yet, or maybe part of Safari was starting to clean itself up in the background, but some of the information is still available, so it's still going to provide it to you, but the information that wasn't available, excuse me, just leaves it empty because there is no information to provide.
In line number 2, if we start there, was there some information regarding the date and time of the access to this search?
Yes.
And where is that located?
It's in the, what would be the 4th column, and we see it's August 24th of 2021 at 8:02:44 p.m. UTC -4, which I believe is Eastern Standard Time, because I don't think that daylight savings times had occurred yet.
And so this would be accurate as to time in reference to the search?
Correct, as far as being in Eastern Standard Time where we are.
And then we've already gone through row number 4. Was there a subsequent search on August 24th at 8:07 p.m.?
Yes.
And has that reflected in the records as 4-year-old shot in Tampa video footage?
Yes.
Subsequent to that, were there additional searches on this device which returned at least results depicted here? In row 5?
Yes.
Did that occur at a different or separate date and time?
It shows 8:24:21 at 8:33 p.m.
And now, these numbers themselves are what's been produced by the device or the program itself. Are you able to edit or modify or change that in any way?
No, these are just being all pulled from a table. So as you see, it says last visited. So it's saying that that was the last time that Google search was visited.
And then ultimately, can you tell us the difference between those Google searches and what we're seeing in row number 8 as it relates to the content? Was this also a Google search?
Yes, it looks like, yes, it was a Google search, but I'm not sure I understand the question completely.
I apologize. Are you able to determine whether there's a Google search where the ending of the search is auto-populated versus whether you've entered every single key from the information that you have here?
No, I'm not able to tell right now whether these are auto-populated or not, meaning that when you type something in Google, it then tries to suggest the rest of the search that you may be doing, and ultimately the search is done, but I'm not sure how many of the words were actually typed out versus suggested.
And this search, it appears from the records, occurs on a separate date of August 25th at 10:19 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what Celebrite has identified.
Did you also have an opportunity to review the files for photographs?
Yes.
And were you able to ascertain whether a photograph was on this device from August 21st of 2021 at 11:17 a.m.?
Yes.
What is it that we are viewing here, titled Extraction Report?
This is a photo that was identified from being on the device, and then you can see more interesting, I guess you could say, is where the metadata is. So metadata is data specifically about the photo itself, where the created modified access at the top might be more specific to when that file was on the device. When the file made it onto the hard drive or the chip on the device, that's what those dates and times would be more specific to. But the metadata is information specific about the photo itself. So in this, we can see that this photo or device is reporting that this photo was taken with an Apple iPhone SE second generation, and then the capture time being 8/21 of 2021.
And referring you back to page 3, your extraction face sheet, can you please provide to the jury what this device from Quandarious Hammond was by model?
Yes, you can see on the left-hand column, closer to the bottom where it says detected phone model, it says it's an iPhone SE second generation.
So when you're looking at states 35-8, page 8, are you able to also see on this the camera model from the device that took this?
Yes,
And what was that?
it's the same model phone that took the photo.
And on this device is this photo is represented?
Yes,
Are you able to further access this photo so that it is depicted in a larger capacity?
yes.
Was page 10 of the same exhibit the photograph that you were able to extract from the device from that report we just saw?
Yes,
And this was the image depicted from August 21st of 2021, is that correct?
yes.
Now, I asked you before briefly about whether you had an opportunity to review the Apple iCloud extraction for this same phone number or linked to that same phone number, is that correct?
Phone number or Apple Cloud account, yes.
And you indicated you did.
Yes.
Do you, in receiving those extractions, still have an opportunity to have a separate and distinct extraction report face sheet or cover page?
Yes,
Does that contain the same information that you've already described for us?
yes,
So about the device itself, it gives user accounts columns, same thing.
yes.
But where does the information on an iCloud dump come from?
It comes directly from Apple themselves, and in this case, you can see that the source where the name is actually a zip file.
Is actually a zip file?
Yeah, so Apple provides us the iCloud return, and that's what that is at the top where it says name, and it's a bunch of numbers .zip. So that's how they provided the return to us for the cloud account.
So you would have had a file folder on a computer to open to access instead of a physical cell phone?
Correct. We don't open it. We just have the software process the entire zip file as we get it.
And in reviewing the contents of that device, were you able to note any particular, or extract any particular images from that device?
Yes.
And can you tell us from this report what this is? Is this an extraction of the image?
It's not necessarily an extraction. It's just we get the zip file, and then we just parse the zip file. So we're not extracting anything, but we're parsing what Apple gave to us. And then on that zip file that we got from Apple, it had this photo on it.
And again, were you able to zoom on that photo and showing page 12 to view a larger depiction of that image?
Yes.
And again, no ability for you at least to document or annotate anything without there being a record of that from any of the cell phone extractions?
Correct.
Can I ask you please about whether you received a device related to defendant Jaylin Bedward in this case? I may have to give you the number.
Yes.
A little bit easier this way. Were you able to pull extractions, or were there extractions for all devices except for one?
Yes.
And what was the difference with the one extraction for which there was an inability to get data?
I'm not sure the answer to that one.
Did
You're
you
saying-
receive a device that would not produce an extraction? Oh, thank you so much. I have a phone number. Would that help you to locate the device that I'm referencing
It's the control number that would help me.
from the device itself?
No, if you're asking the extraction, like the white ticket number, I know that I have an extraction for a James Denson. But-
Yes. All devices should have an extraction. Was there a device for which, when you attempted to make an extraction upon turning it on, there was no data on the phone, meaning it was reset?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to tell us whether that was the only device for which, when you opened it to complete an extraction, there was essentially a reset screen?
I believe that was the only device.
What does the reset screen look like when you attempt to access it?
It usually says hello, or it'll say it in a bunch of different languages.
So like when I take a new iPhone out of the box?
Yes.
What causes the phone to give you that if it has been a phone that's used previously?
It either a factory reset that someone has done with the physical device, or I believe you can also do it by sending a reset signal to the device.
But in any event, you did not recover any information from that device.
You cannot know.
What steps are taken by either yourself or law enforcement to essentially prevent that factory reset from occurring if you impound a phone?
It's complicated because it's getting harder and harder to do that. So if you want the long answer, I can give you the long answer. But essentially, if a device has the ability to have cellular signal, it can be wiped if somebody can send a message. New iPhones that have recently come out has made it a little bit more difficult because now iPhones don't have a SIM card. The newer ones don't, so now we can't just remove the SIM card to remove it from getting signal. So now we have to put it in what's called a Faraday bag, which isolates it from Bluetooth and cellular signal. But when you do that and you can't put it in airplane mode, because now some phones require you to put a passcode in, to put it in airplane mode, as soon as you put it in one of these Faraday bags, it immediately starts looking for a signal, which causes it to drain the battery. If you drain the battery and it kills the phone, it puts it into this VFU mode, which then encrypts all of the user data. So now you need a Faraday box or a Faraday room, and it gets expensive and a lot more complicated.
No Faraday room at the Tampa Police Department.
There is not.
So when you see that the device, when you turn it on to hopefully have an extraction completed from it, gives you that factory reset screen, are you able then to obtain any content or device information?
You can get the IMEI, which is essentially the serial number or an identifier for the physical device, which you then be able to go back to Apple and try to get some information if it's there.
Can you retrieve photographs, pictures, calls from the software you have when you're trying the extraction?
From the physical device, not that I'm aware of.
It would have to be some other type of extraction or potentially something that could be recovered.
Correct. You might be able to get what I referred to as Apple images, like the images of emojis and all the flags and everything that you see on like your keyboard, but you're not going to get user created data.
So you would see files with like the smiley face emoji and the things that come on our keypad when we're trying to text.
Correct. Things that are there by Apple at the core level of the software.
Any specific information as to the history of the device or the content from the history of the device?
No, not typically.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes. No question.
No question.
Nothing else to Mr. Denson.
No questions, Your Honor.
I just want to ask your clarification about one thing. You said when you did the extraction of the phone, it contains some metadata on it that gives you information as to when that picture may have been taken.
I know we talked about several phones. Are you referring to a specific phone, or is that a general question?
The ones where the pictures were introduced in this case, and Mr. Hammond.
So yes, there was metadata for the photo that was presented as an exhibit, I think is your question?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. And then you said for the second, this is page 13, or this is the information related to the iCloud, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That you reviewed, that you said gets sent to you in a zip and then you all parse it out?
Yes.
Okay. And the photograph that the state introduced, it also has some information that's with it that we see on page 14?
Yes.
And so that information is contained in this area where it's additional file info?
Yes.
And what does that tell us?
That is dates and times that Apple has provided to us. So it's showing the created, modified, accessed, and I can't say this to be 100% for sure, but often the modified time is a good indication of when that photo was last, or when it was created.
Okay.
It's not always the case, but it's usually the first date. So sometimes it gets confusing when you look at how could something be modified, in this case, 3 months before it was created. Well, again, it goes back to, it's not really specific about the photo, it's about the file itself. So they're saying that the photo might have been taken on July 9th, but that record of that file going onto the cloud account didn't happen until October 5th. So that file being put on the iCloud was created on 10/5 of 21, but it might have been taken on 7/9. That's why the modified time would be 3 months before it was created.
Well, does that tell us that we don't know for sure when that picture was taken?
It's not so much about the photo, because that would be more in the EXIF information. It's about the file. So if this was a Word document, all I can tell you is what Apple's reporting is when that file itself was created and modified.
And what does it mean for it to be created in this information?
Apple is telling us that this file was put onto the iCloud server. That record of that file going on their server was created on October 5th.
Okay, and that's the same as the date and time for access under that additional file information?
Yes.
And then the modified date that we have is 7/9/2021, but you're not able to say for sure that that's when that photograph was taken.
Correct. I'm telling you that's the last time that Apple's reporting to us that it was modified.
Okay, so unlike the other information for the actual extraction, this iCloud information that you get doesn't tell you for sure when the photo was taken.
This specific photo does not have EXIF data, which I think answers your question.
Okay, from the records that we have that are entered into evidence, does any of it indicate to us when the photo was taken?
This specific photo, no, but I just wanted to make sure that you asked if Apple has any record of photos. So to this photo, no, there's no EXIF data.
Okay.
I'm not sure if any other photos did.
All right. Nothing further.
No redirect, Your Honor.
May this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor, from the state.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost noon. It's a good time to take a break for lunch. So we'll ask that you come back at 1:15.
All rise for the jury.
Jury's left, y'all may be seated. So you have, state has one witness left? All right. Court being recessed to 1:15.
Court stands in recess from 1:15, please exit.